of Jack Riley, who was the coach of the 1960 Olympic team that won it in Squaw Valley.
Somebody who grew up at West Point.
Can you pause it for a second?
Yeah.
The person speaking is Ryan Riley, who is Jack Riley's son, who's the current coach.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really cool. So yeah, okay, roll it and everybody. Roll it? Yeah.
Roll up people being footage.
You got it loud enough? I think so.
And as somebody who grew up at West Point and watched not only the three of you, but all the others in this room play, I often wondered why he stayed. Now having had the chance to sit in his chair, I know why he stayed. The opportunity to coach cadets, like all of yourselves, makes this the greatest coaching job in all of college sports.
Yeah, we were young kids. We got a chance to win a gold medal, something that's never been done by an American team. And that was the only focus that we had on.
I wanted this team to be remembered as a solid hockey team that won the first gold medal.
Yeah, that's the Lady Olympics.
No way I could say my team was tired. No, we weren't tired. We were ready to play.
Training camp at West Point was tough because they had the largest rink in the United States.
They called our rink Lakes and Dirt with the roof, 232 by 90.
Jack would often select players to play in the afternoon against his cadets, so you get no extra time on the ice.
And then they played the national anthem on there. That was very touching. That was really touching.
We won it on a Sunday afternoon, Monday morning, it was working. It wasn't the hoopla that you see today.
These guys did not find fame or fortune or anything like that as Olympic champions.
Quiet pride. You don't have to have anybody tell me how great it was, but I hold my own hand.
The best U.S. hockey team ever put together was the 1960. That was the first.
I didn't care whether they liked me or not. I didn't. If they didn't like me, it's too bad.
They didn't have the big slingshot or stuff that in those days. They just passed it around until they caught you off guard and slipped it in the back of the net.
We were getting more confident all the time, you know. I said, yeah, maybe we can do this. Like I say, we had a good team.
You know, it's just, we're not going to be denied.
Anyway, I thought I would tell a story. How this all started. I think I started playing hockey when I was 9 in 5th grade. And we played outdoors at Illinois, which is North Shore, Chicago. jumping ahead, fast forwarding quite a bit. When they're about 13, 14 years old, they're bantam. They call them bantam age. The parents over time put together a team, and they called it the Chicago Minor Hawks. And we traveled to Windsor, Ontario to play the Canadians, and we got killed. I think back of it, and it's like a bunch of bumblebees going around you, and putting the puck in the net, and we're thinking, what happened? And we were pretty decent skaters, but we never played any good competition. And so we come home, and our parents get this great idea to hire a Canadian coach to whip us into shape. And he definitely did whip us into shape. The practices were very amazing. And during about a year and a half or so, 2 winters, we would import Canadian teams. And they were rough. And we learned how to play rough. We actually got faster and quicker and more ruthless in the corners. And we would just pulverize our local Illinois teams and some other local teams. And so anyway, we went back to Windsor, Ontario to play a tournament, a bantam tournament, about a year, 2 years later. And we won it in Canada, which is a real shocker. So anyway, the bottom line is we were really well prepared for college hockey. And so our parents said, okay guys, you're going to college. So you're going to fly out or take a bus out to as a team and play all the freshman college teams. I think we played 7, we played Penn State, Yale, New Hampshire, and we beat New Hampshire 2-1. I remember that. We lost to everybody else. We played Dartmouth and we played West Point. And I went to West Point. I saw the great structures at West Point, and I said, you know, I told my dad, I said, I think I'd like to go to West Point. It was an upright, kind of a righteous atmosphere, and I wanted that structure and that discipline to be focused. And so that was my motive for picking West Point. And I had no clue what the Army was like. I had no clue. Absolutely nothing. So it was a huge wake-up call when I got off the bus. The first thing he said was, "Where's your razor?" And I said, "What, razor? We need a razor?" So I said, "Yeah, we need to go up to Highland Falls and get a shaving kit." So then I came back, and then we had after that, they grouped us hockey players together at Jack Riley's house, and I met his wife, and I met John Roberts and all that. Well, he was already gone, but all the other senior players were there. We had a little get together, and that was pretty cool. So, I got to back up a little bit. So we back when I was like 16 or 17, after the bantam age, you go to the midget age. Even though it's not small, but it's an age group like 15, 16, 17. And we were playing in the National Hockey Tournament in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And you remember Gordie Howe, the Mr. Hockey, Detroit Red Wings?
Yeah.
Well, his 2 sons were playing on the Detroit team that we were playing, Mark and Marty Howe. And I was on the ice, and they were in our zone, and one of the Detroit guys was deep in our, like, near the net or in the corner, and he made a pass to Marty Howe, probably, I think. I can't remember who it was. But the next thing I knew, it was a very fluid motion. Next thing, the puck was in the lower right-hand corner of the net. It was a beautiful wrist shot, a snapshot, if you want to call it, about this far off the ice, and just tucked in the right-hand corner. It was a work of art. And I said to myself, I got to do that. And so I didn't take any slap shots hardly at all my whole career. It was all wrist shots. And I would skate around almost like a target tracking radar would track an oncoming jet to shoot it down. I'd always have in mind where the net was, and my whole body would be like a cocked pistol getting ready to go off in a moment's notice with the wrist shot. In that case, the goalie wouldn't be ready, and I'd get the edge on him. And that's pretty much, it took me like 2 years to practice that. I would like, when you go to sleep at night, you're kind of thinking in your head, okay, Christy, I'm gonna skate down left wing, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this. And you're thinking of all these things night after night after night, and finally it comes to fruition when you're skating after a couple of years, and it becomes second nature. And so I got it to where I could do the wrist shot as hard as I could a slap shot without and get hazed to death, and maybe not even eat that day. So we sat on what they call four squat tables, or athletic tables, where you could eat just regular like we're doing today. And that was pretty cool. And that lasted all 4 years. I even played tennis, play beer for a little bit, because we played tennis in Chicago too. But then I got to thinking, this is too much athletics. I gotta stop doing that. But for some reason, I sold some people to eat on the four squat tables. That was pretty cool. And but anyway, Jack Riley was an interesting character. He had a nickname called the Fox. He was kind of a distant type coach, but he was a good strategist and all that. But I just played how I knew how to play, and you know how the coach would tell you, okay, you gotta go here and go there and go there. Well, that all went out the window when I got on the ice. I just started doing stuff like an artist would paint a picture. You know, how do you hold an artist's hand to force him to make paint? You got to do it yourself, and you know, play how you learn how to play. So I remember my line mate Dave Rost, who was a very good player. He would always tell me, "How come you don't go this way or that way, this way?" I don't know, but I'm out there. I just do what I do. It never worked to coach me, to make moves on the ice. I always kind of did them as I learned how to do them, you know, in the previous years. But I found that playing the Canadians was an excellent training ground for getting better. And it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're competing against someone who is much better than you, you're going to get better at no matter what occupation or sport you play, which I thought was really helpful. I was more than prepared to play college hockey after that Canadian experience. We went into we had a tournament in Minnesota. We played Edina, Minnesota, which is a kind of powerhouse hockey club, and we won 2-1 then. We beat them 2-1, which was pretty good. They might have beat us on another day when they were playing much better, but still it was really a shot of confidence that we could play up with that kind of competition. When you're 16 years old back then. So. But let me think what else. So it was four good years. It was good to have that break where you could get out of the West Point aura, you know, and be civilized. or you could say uncivilized on the ice. I played hard and fair. I hated cheating. There's a couple of situations where I knocked two people out in a row. The guy was coming around the net, he had his head down, and he had the puck. And so I cold cocked him right behind the net. And it happened again, like in the next period. I don't know if it was the same. I don't think it was the same guy. And I look back on it, and I probably shouldn't have done that, but it was all the fault of the Canadians. We would play the Royal Military College once a year, and that was like football and ice. I really didn't like playing that, but at least I was ready for them. I could take the hits and I could dish it out. But I would take hits, and it's not that it hurt. It more scared you than it hurt, because you're going into the corner, you know, pretty fast, and you're always looking behind, make sure no one's going to kill you. Because back then you could hit from behind and just wallop somebody in the corner if you didn't have your head up, or make a last-minute turn, you know, to avoid getting hit. Now they outlaw that because you can get hurt doing that, especially with everybody in such good shape. You know, we were in halfway decent shape back then, but still, we didn't lift weights, or we didn't have a training room. We just kind of showed up and played. And Jack would skate us to death every practice, pretty much. Yeah.
There was a game, my classmate Dave Ross, and I don't think I got to go, but skiing, but I think a lot of the team got slugged, and it was a game between RMA and West Point, and something about pulling shirts up on their heads and starting a fist fight or something like that. Any remember that? Or?
Oh, that was after I left, but I didn't hear anything. I heard a story. I got one funny story. Maybe Denny knows more than I can recall it. But we lost a game, and I can't remember if I was there or not. It might have been that season before I even got there. But Jack was really upset. And you know how they give you these little small things of Coca-Cola and a little paper thing, and the tray is like 30 or 40 of them in a commandant was standing there. And it went all over. And it was kind of embarrassing. I wasn't there, but I heard about it. What the heck did I do? That was pretty funny. But I heard that there was something right or something. And I think the superintendent threatened to shut down the hockey program altogether. Jack seemed to work that out. Jack helped me get to West Point in the first place. I was a C+ student at New Church High School in North Shore, Chicago, which is pretty upscale. And I was pretty good in math, but I couldn't write myself out of a paper bag. And I think that's what my negative was. And this is kind of another side story, by the way. And so anyway, so after I told my dad I want to go to West Point, my dad contacted Jack, and Jack got me in. He arranged the appointment and everything. But so anyway, in my senior year, I was pretty close to not graduating, and I had to. And the reason why is I couldn't write. I didn't have any ability to put thoughts on paper, and so I had a girlfriend there, and I would always write her letters. But you know how you write a letter and you just don't say the right thing, so you just crumple it and throw it away. I went through like 18 of those rough drafts. I mean, it was a pile of paper over there. And it was over a couple of weeks' time. And I went from getting D's on my term papers and stuff like that to A's, literally within a month. Just because I practiced. I had a heart to do it in the first place, high motivation to put your thoughts on paper. And it just took 15 to 20 tries to write the right thing, to say it the right way. And kind of like you do paintings, you're doing the painting over again, right? You do the sky right, so you got to do it over. And do the clouds, and then you got to figure out how to paint bushes, blah blah blah. So it's just repetition is the best teacher, oftentimes. And do it over and over and over again. So anyway, other than that, yeah.
Yeah, I have a question, George. One, I'm glad you mentioned RMC, because that was our Navy game.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day, because Navy didn't have ice hockey. So Royal Military College was our Army-Navy game. And the question was Smith Rink still there? Did you train at that, or did they have a new facility when you played?
We played in the Smith Rink the whole time.
Okay, yeah, that's what I remember. Way up there by Lusk Reservoir, Mikey Stadium, yeah.
Yeah, where AOG is now.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a huge rink. I mean, it was slightly bigger than Olympic size. And I think my junior year, they shortened it 10 feet. Was that 10 or 5 feet? I can't remember. It was still big.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick George story. So I wasn't good enough to be on the hockey team. So I was a manager for 3 years. In my senior year, I was a goal judge for North Goal at Smith Rink. And I remember sitting on the stool behind the bench, on the platform, and it was a breakaway. And I've told George this. He's skating towards me, and the goalie's in front trying to goal. And I'm watching George, and he's skating down the ice, and he purposely overskates the puck. So he's overskating the puck, and at the last second, he took his foot and kicked the puck out here like this, and his snapshot, just like that. It was that quick. Boom! Done! It's like, holy cow, that's the best goal I've ever seen.
That might have been an accident.
Hey, it's my story.
I got a George story. George and my classmate, Bob Haviland, and maybe 4 or 5 years ago I was in Hawaii. My wife was born and raised there, so we tried to go back every winter. So I'm sitting at the Barefoot Bar at the Hollycoat, and lo and behold, I bump into another grad. Go figure, you know. And this guy was younger. I don't remember the name or the year. Do you remember, George?
Yeah, Kevin O'Keefe.
And I mentioned I was a grad. Kevin immediately says, "Do you know George Clark?" Yeah, he was my classmate. Kevin was in awe of George. I mean, George was on this pedestal. Kevin played hockey also. And somehow he latched on to George and wanted to train with George. I guess the training involved running up and down the stairs at Nike Stadium until your thighs burnt off. But evidently it paid off for George and Kevin, so good job.
You mentioned Ross being your other line mate.
Yeah.
Was your other one, the other George?
Yeah,
George Reynolds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good line. Dave was a playmaker. He played center and kind of just circle around, waiting for opportunities, real strategically playing. And I'd be going, shoo, shoo, shoo. He just beat me the buck and off I go. So that was kind of good. George was just a maniac. I remember one time, he was just going full speed into the corner and didn't stop, just whammed into the boards. Took out his kneecap. I think he lost control of this. But anyway, he was a good player.
If I could add, Chris Thompson here, if I could add just a couple words of Cowell and I do admissions, and it's a rare person like George Clark that gets recruited. You know, so many, they kind of want to be recruited, but what a candidate needs to do is open a file. Show they're interested, you know, and then send a note to the coach. You go Army West Point. You can tell them to do this. You say, go Army West Point, you find a coach, you say, hey coach, look at me. Send them a little bit of stuff, but have that file open, drop in maybe transcripts or SAT or ACT. The coaches are super busy. And, you know, my son missed it on baseball. I didn't know these things. He probably would have been playing Army baseball, but he didn't know to get hold of, you know, to do these things ahead of time. And the kids, they would like recruit me, you know, but no. You know, learn about West Point. Help them learn about West Point. If they're really good, don't hang out on your, well, it's okay. You know, we don't do it like the others, but, you know, if they're really good at something, encourage them to do well with academics and encourage them to come to a place like this or to learn and talk to graduates and talk all sports. Talk to them, you know, every cadet and athlete, every athlete challenge, and then open a file and then get hold of a coach, say, hey coach, look at me. Go ArmyWestPoint.com, Rebecca Syrup, for example, you know, you do it like that. Or right now, Daniel Hyder, you look at Daniel Hyder. That way, that's an example. If anybody's got another comment or another thought on it, I mean, I'm a slow learner. They say you're top of the game. 10 years I've been doing admissions, 16. But you know, it's and if somebody knows somebody that wants to help up in Fairbanks, let us know too. Thanks.
And George is a phenomenal painter. If you didn't know that, he's got one up there, but he's got many more. And way back when I was a cadet, I had this ongoing struggle of like Dan versus any sort of drill and ceremony. And so at some point I ended up on the sailing team. You know what sailors look like? Generally they're about this tall and they weigh like 100 pounds, so I'm like, not that. And so I only got one season before they said like, you know, you're really not very good at this. But anyway, so George saw this